is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and Brian and I are continuing our top 100 games of all time. This segment is going to be 40 through 31. We are a fourth of the way done. Nope, that's not how that works. So we are over halfway done in the top 50. This segment, I have two new on my list, but a majority of them have actually moved up. So this is going to be a very positive list for me. So yay!
I have 0 new ones, and the majority of mine have fallen a little bit.
Wow.
So yeah.
What's even the point? All right. So let's go ahead and get started with my number 40, which I can't remember if you've actually said, but it was 35 last year, so it's only fallen 5 spaces. Probably mainly due to just games that have skyrocketed above. So that is
yes.
Sorcerer. So Sorcerer is a fantastic 1v1 game. If anyone says it is more players, it is only 1v1.
They are wrong. Do not
yes.
do
it. I mean, yeah. I mean, it technically has other modes, but I don't think they were solidified in any way to be as solid as the 1v1.
It works. It just takes forever to play.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this one is basically a combination of Smash Up and like Magic the Gathering almost. You play a sorcerer that has 3 different decks of cards that you shuffle into one deck. The sorcerer, a specific set, then you do his lineage, domain, which I'm not quite sure what the domain does thematically. Like the lineage makes sense. It's kind of like what he is.
Where they trained, I think.
Oh, okay. So, and there's a bunch of different, sorcerers, lineages, and domains, so that the combinations are endless in what you're doing, because I mean, yeah, there's not as many combinations as like say Smash Up, but with the 3 different decks that you're shuffling together, it's amazing. But you are doing some area control for 3 different regions and first one to destroy 2 of them wins the game. And just the artwork over this, the theme is just amazing. The creativity, different sorcerers and their special abilities, and then the lineages and their because each of those 3 cards have special abilities to them, as well as the new card or the decks that you shuffle in together. This one will very much go higher with Endbringer, unless that expansion just ends up sucking hard ass. But I can't imagine it will. So this one blew me away whenever I think you were the one who told me about it, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll give it a shot. And I was like, this is amazing. Like, so many different combinations.
Yeah, because I demoed this for them, the last Origins that there was, and that's when I really learned it. Yeah. And it's a good one for sure.
Right. And then after I think a while, you and I finally played, and I just destroyed.
That is the issue with this. Sometimes, like, you are combining 3 decks, and there are going to be stronger. I mean, just by the nature, some things are going to work better together than others, just like in Smash Up or any of that stuff.
True.
And that happened to be one of those instances.
Right. Or it's going to be one of those things where it's like, oh, I've never tried this combination before, so I don't know quite how to strategically play it. And some might just be easier because it's like, oh wow, all these monsters are they have a lot of health and a lot of damage, so that's easy. Versus a different type of strategy. So the game is simple to learn. I really like how you do your actions, how you gain energy and you spend energy for cards. And as an action on your turn, everyone has 5. No, everyone has 6 actions.
6, yes.
Yeah, and you can of those actions to draw cards. You can spend one of those actions to gain energy. You don't have to rely on the deck providing any of that for you. Like Magic, for example, where you need mana to do things, and if you're holding a really good card and you're like, dang it, I just really need to draw an island and I'm not getting it right now, so I'm I'm kind of sucking. You don't have here. If you have a hand that you don't like, you just spend an action to draw 2. And I very much enjoy that. The only thing I really don't like, I feel like it's kind of a cop-out, is just you roll dice and hope you get crits and hope you get hits. It's extremely simple what the game provides, but they do offer a lot of ways to mitigate the die rolling, so it's not as bad. But I do still wish that they had come up with some way of being creative. But I mean, it's a small complaint with everything else that makes this game great. So that's my number 40, Sorcerer.
Good choice. All right, my number 40 was 19 2 years ago, was 39 last year, so it only dropped 1 spot.
Yeah.
And that is Imperial Settlers. I think you had already said this. It was a little bit further down.
I have. It was my 52.
Okay. This one is for all the same things you said and that. I mean, this was a really cool, this is my first foray into the style of game, you know, where it's a kind of a simpler civ building game with a lot of decisions and a lot of engine building. It gets better when you have the other factions. I was just, like I just said earlier, I finally acquired the Amazons, so I'm excited to try them out.
Amazons are great.
Yeah. The solo aspect of this is good, where you're taking on the barbarians and it's beat your own score kind of thing. I just like how it's there is a little bit of take that and player, you know, where you mess with people, but it's not like game ending. And if they lose a building, oh well. It just gives, you know, it's something to build upon and stuff. It's not as cutthroat as what it could have been.
Yep.
And you know, and then this game has spawned off onto other games as well and everything. Yep. But yeah, I mean, this one's just a solid civ game, probably one of my favorite civ building games, and my family likes playing it as well, which is a bonus. So
true.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yep. Awesome. All right. My number 39 actually went up. Last year it was 52. So it looks like Real Settlers replaced it. And in 2018 it was 31. And this has gone up, one of the best storage organizations for it, and it makes it so much easier to get to the table. And that is BattleCon Devastation of Endines. Oh man, I finally got my Unleashed, one that just takes everything and organizes it into, everyone has their own tuck box, everyone has base cards. All of my cards are sleeved in this. That ended up hurting quite a bit because I'm just standing at my table just sleeving cards, and yeah, not fun. But they basically made this game so much easier to get to the table, because how I was storing it was just, it was insane. Like it just, you know how some games have a lot of components and you open the box and you're like, oh yeah, like, I don't want to. Like Gloomhaven, for example, if you don't have that broken token, like like all these bags, and you just, anyway, that's this. But now all you do is, I have the 2 boxes and I just open it, and then boom, everything's there, organized alphabetically by difficulty, and you just take the checkbox out. Everyone does that. Everything you will ever need is in that box. I have a play mat. You take a play mat, boom, and you are ready to play. This is the best iteration of a 1v1, you know, fighter game. Like, I cannot think of anything else that comes even close to it. And I mean, they have their other system, Exceed, which we don't like as much because it revolves around a deck of cards. And it's like, this one, everything's open knowledge. You know exactly what your opponent has at their disposal. Because everyone has their own like cards that you hand to your opponent, so they can read that and look at it and be like, okay, well, here are your special cards. Obviously, I know what basic cards you have. I know what your finishers do. If you have any other type of, you know, other cards like potions or abilities, that's all available for me to know. And you just try and outplay your opponent by making combinations of sets that make really cool sounding names of moves that you do. and first person to go from 20 to 0 health loses. So it's fantastic. They cleaned up the way the finishers work. Every character has 2 finishers, and you pick which one at the beginning. There's now a card that you have that whenever you have focus equal to your life, you can then play that card, and then you can do your finisher. But you can also play that card to swap your finisher to its other side. If you picked one at the beginning of the game and you're like, oh, I don't think this is actually going to work as well as I thought, you can play it and then flip it to the other side. So it's fantastic. I think there's 90 fighters total now, because I mean the 2 boxes that when you open it you wouldn't think there's 90 there, but if my 5th grade math still holds up, I was able to figure out that there are 90 there. And they all play different. This game is fantastic. So don't know how it's going to actually mesh up in the future top 100s, but as of right now, it's here because that storage system. I have a few, and you guys can check out my discussion over the Unleashed edition. But ultimately, they did a great job. So BattleCon Devastation of Endines, or BattleCon Unleashed is really what it should be now, is 39.
Sounds good. My 39 is a game you don't like. It was 51 2 years.
Wouldn't be a top 100 segment if you didn't have a game I didn't like.
Exactly. It was 51 2 years ago, 41 last year, 39 this year. Went up just a little bit, mainly because I played it recently, and that's Seasons. This is one of those games that one of my wife's favorite games, so it gets played. That's one of the reasons. And but this one is you take the role of a wizard, and you're trying to battle to be the best wizard in the land, I guess. But you this is the one. It has an interesting card. Like the cards remind me a lot of like Magic cards. There's a lot of text to them, a lot of the symbology and stuff. But you also will have the big dice, right? So like at the beginning of your turn, you're gonna roll depending on how many players are, depending on how many dice you roll, but you roll for whatever season it is. And they have all these different symbols on them and everything, and you draft the dice, and then you're gonna get the resources from the dice or do whatever the action is on that dice. And you'll play cards and all that different stuff. But what you're trying to do is you're just you're gaining points.
You're getting victory points, right? You're not trying to kill people. Okay.
Right. You're gaining victory points, and you are using those resources that you get, because you have this little dashboard that has spots on the top of it for like resources, so you can only hold so many. And then those resources are what you use to pay for your cards to play them out. So there's 2 types of cards. There's spells and there are familiars. So you'll put those things out. But there's all these manipulations of the season, because there's a circle board in the middle that has the 4 seasons, and you play through 3 years. So every time you go through a year, but that, which brings me to the whole beginning of the game. When you draft your cards, you're going to start out with X number of cards in your hand, and you're going to go around and draft. And then once you have, I think it's like 9 cards in your hands, then at that point you decide what 3 cards you want to start the game with, what 3 cards you'll get once year 2 starts, and then what 3 cards you'll get once year 3 starts. So you kind of have to know, like, okay, this is going to be a good end game card, so let's put it for year 3 and all this stuff. You get penalized at the end of the game for however many cards you have in your hand left. So you have to like try to get all your cards out, and plus there's card drawing mechanics. There's just a lot of stuff going on with your cards, but it's pretty, I mean, that whole time manipulation, because there's certain cards that you can move this time up, move it back, blah blah. Also there's an action in the game called transmute, which you can depending on the season, you can sell your resources, and they're worth different values depending on what season it is. That's another way to gain victory points. There's just a lot of cool stuff, and the 2 expansions just added a bunch more cards, so there's all kinds of crazy stuff that you can do. The art, the cover art's okay out of the box, but the card art is really, really cool. And
yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
yeah, this is just one of those games that it has a ton of different kinds of things kind of meshed together and turns it into a pretty solid game. And it's a game that doesn't overstay its welcome. It's not a long game at all. Because it's just 3 years, you're going to have 9 cards mainly you need to get out of unless you draw a bunch more. And you just go through that way. I mean, it's, the expansions don't add a ton of stuff. There's a couple of little mechanics that get added, but other than that, it's mostly just cards.
Yeah.
But yeah, Seasons is my 39.
This is a game that I want to try again. Because whenever you say I don't like it, technically that is true, because last time I played it, I did not like it. However, I played it at a time I didn't like Magic. So
that's true.
Of course, I mean, that type of system, no game was working. I didn't like Mage Knight. I didn't like, the tastes of mine have changed dramatically since then. Because I played it 6 years ago or something,
right,
and haven't touched it since. So I do want to give it another shot to see. Looking on Board Game Geek, it says that it's best with 2. 72% of people said that. So.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. Me and my wife play this game 2-player a lot, and it works really well.
Cool. So, yeah, I'll have to give that one a shot. All right. My number 38 is one that will most likely be higher on your list. It has gone up from last year. It was 44 last year. And in 2018, it was 29. So that's always great. And this is a game that I had an aversion to at the beginning of my board gaming hobby career, but have come to love it. And that is Five Tribes. Five Tribes is a fantastic game by Bruno Cathala and Days of Wonder. This is Mancala, but in a dramatically replayable way. You are, of course, trying to amass the most points, and each tile has a bunch of different colored meeples on it. And on your turn, you just choose any tile available, and then you basically move around the map, placing one meeple piece on a tile as you go. And then your final action is whatever the final meeple that you place, but you have to place the meeple on a spot that has that same colored meeple. Like reds or assassins, they allow you to kill separate meeples. Yellows and purples purples are with the expansion, are basically like a set collection. And then you also do the actions of the tiles that let you get djinns that have special abilities, that let you get cards of different goods that are set collections. There's just a bunch of stuff that is going on in this game, and playing the game, there's just so many options. You're sitting there, and you're just like, all right, well, every tile here is available to me to do an action of what I want to do, so I guess I'll just pick one and go with it. The Artisans of Mancala, is that one of the?
That's one of them, yeah. That's the one that added the purple.
Yes, that is a fantastic expansion. It adds mountains and a little sinkhole, really, like a pit that nothing can go in, and then the mountains prevent you from going past them, so you have to kind of go around. So it actually helps out with the analysis paralysis, because not so much, but like you don't have everything available, because okay, I cannot go this way due to the mountains. And then the Sultans added even more set collection and city tiles that give you a bunch of victory points, I believe, if you control them. So this is a fantastic game. I really, really enjoy it. So that's my 38, Five Tribes.
One of the coolest things about this game is the how you bid for turn order.
Oh yeah.
And you're in money is victory points. If you have 50 coins, that's 50 victory points.
Yeah.
So you are actually spending victory points to do turn order.
To try and go first, yeah.
Yeah, it's just a crazy mechanic, but it works really well.
Yeah, and I like stuff like that. I like that whenever you have to make decisions and be like, man, okay, this is worth points at the end of the game. Do I really want to do this action? So you have to weigh that consequence, and you can end up losing by 5 points, and you're like, well, that's the time I bid 8 to go first. Looks like it didn't pay off. So, yeah, this game is extremely solid. So, 5 tribes.
All right. My number 38 was not on the list 2 years ago, was 23 last year. And I don't know why it fell down. It's still a great game. I think it's just because other stuff kind of knocked it back a little bit. And that is
oh, wow.
Empires of the North.
So you do end up liking this one better than?
I do. I like this one better, mainly because I like the solo better. The solo has more theme to it, than the, and that's really what put it over the edge. It's 2 spots higher, so it's not. But this one, takes place in the world of Imperial settlers. That's really about it.
That is it.
Yeah, but every race or character, I guess, has their own deck, and I like it because you're still doing your civ building a little bit, I guess, but I like the action selection, that little whatever you want to call that thing, the circle thing, that wheel, that you do at your action selection. Every deck plays incredibly different. That's another thing that's cool, and I like how they do their expansions, where they just put out a Roman expansion, and it has all the solo stuff for it. It has all the decks and all that stuff. The barbarian, Japanese. I can't remember if there's any other ones. I think those are the 3 that have come out so far. But
barbarian, Japanese, and they each added 2 factions.
Yeah, 2 factions, and then like the boats and all that stuff. So that's another kind of neat little thing how they've they each have their own specialized little boat that you put together. Sure. It's kind of, but yeah, this one is it doesn't play anything like Imperial Settlers, but
it has the same ideas around it, but
it's just a different style of game. But yeah, because we played both of these the same day.
Yeah, when this first came out.
Yeah, and I liked Empires better at that point. That day too. But yeah, it's one of those games that they've put the time into the solo aspect more, and I think that's what I respect that more, because they have like little, what would you call them? Solo, like
their scenarios.
Scenario. That's the word I was looking for. Scenarios. But yeah, it's those are challenging and everything, but yeah, this game and the regular Imperial Settlers, they will both stay in my collection. Just like I think you said the same thing. So
they're different enough.
Yeah. So Empires of the North is my 38. It's a good one.
Awesome. All right, my 37 also went up, which is fantastic. And I think, last year was 45, so it went up. What is it? 7 spaces.
Yeah, I think so.
So it is a fantastic, still in that same genre as Chronicles of Crime and Sherlock Holmes Consultant Detective, but this one is honestly the most unique out of all of them, and that is Detective City of Angels by Van Ryder Games. If you're really thinking about it in terms of like the mysteries themselves, it's not really any different than any of the other ones. However, the way this game plays makes it radically different. This is actually a competitive detective game, where one person is essentially a DM. They call him the Chisel, but he's the one who controls the game. Like, he knows how the scenario ends, he knows who has information, he knows where people need to go, the ins and outs, like a regular DM would. And the other players are going around the map, talking to people, doing what you would normally do in this kind of game. But when they go to talk to someone, let's say they talk to Molly the hooker. Well, I could, as they're talking to her, I could decide to, how she wants to respond. I could even role play that as Molly. Oh, what are you gonna do for me, big boy? You gonna play with that fat wad in your pants? And then like, I make everyone uncomfortable, and then I give them essentially a card that has it's like back and forth, front and back. That should be the new freaking Back and forth, front and back. New Ryan Lockett game, back and forth. Anyway, it's a front and back card that has responses to people, and I could, they could take it for what it is, but they can use leverage on them if they think that I'm lying or that she's lying, and they could like kind of force their hand because they're not on the up and up like the detectives. They will do whatever it is to get the information, so they can whatever, just pull a gun out and be like, give me the fucking information. And if I didn't give them the right one, then I would have to then give them the correct answer. But if I did and they were wrong, well, now they just forced their hand and now they look like an asshole. So then I can get leverage on them to make them do certain things. And where one person goes to get information, another person can go somewhere else to get different information, and they could find out something and be like, oh wow, that's amazing, that's really good. But they could be lying, so the other person wastes their turn driving across the map and then be like, there's nothing here, and you're like, ah. So my favorite thing about this game, besides everything I just mentioned, is the fact that not everyone is as apt to these games. Some people are just able to find those easier than others. What the chisel can do is, for one person, he can make them work for that right information, make it a lot harder for that person, for the person who's really good at it, to really get the information. And if someone else is having a hard time, well, every time they talk to someone, they can just be like, yep, here's the answers. Yep, here's the answers, and make it easier on them to give it an even playing field. So even though it's competitive, it's one of those games that is balanced. And the other thing is the chisel is actually trying to win. Like, it's not like I'm the DM and he is an active member trying to get people to not solve the case. But if all that, I don't really want a DM, or I don't want a competitive game, they can be played solo. And solo cooperatively. I guess they also could be played solo. But so you can have these unique, amazing cases and play them as a group. So yeah, it's just, and they've just released 2 expansions, very extremely creative, big, thick tuck boxes of information. I think the latest one, Smoke and Mirrors, had 4, and the tuck boxes were about that big, and I think all the difficulties were very hard. So awesome. It does scale. They do have difficult cases, but I'm pretty sure the last one had all of them as hard or very hard.
Interesting.
So I think this game is fantastic, and it's such a smart concept. So that's my number 37, Detective City of Angels.
All right, I need to try that sometime just so I can say I did.
Right. Do you want to try it as the intended way to play?
Like with the chisel and all that stuff? Chisel? I would say probably. That's probably the best way to play it, isn't it?
Cooperative works great too.
Oh, really?
You still, yeah. You still get to experience the mystery and play it like you would anywhere else. But yeah, you are essentially missing what makes this game unique.
Well, that's what I was wondering, because is this worth solo? Because a cooperative solo, you could play multiple detectives as a solo, but
sure.
It's $80 game. Yeah. Would it be worth it for solo play for $80?
Yes. Same as it being is Chronicles of Crime. Right. I would attribute this game to be more of Sherlock Holmes than Chronicles of Crime, because it is more. There is no app to be innovative that way. This game is innovative because of the chisel. However, the cases and the there is a cooperative book that has responses, but it is a lot closer to the Sherlock Holmes, which still made my list, and they're still extremely fun. Right. But this is also where's Sherlock Holmes? Sherlock Holmes was number 100, so this is 63 spaces higher than that because of its innovation. So that's up to you on if you want, but I would recommend anyone at least try it with a chisel or DM.
Right. All right. So my 37 has been on my list for a long time. I think you've just played the base game and didn't care for it. It was 35 2 years ago. It was 25 last year, 37 now. So it's kind of just bouncing around in that same area. And that is Elder Sign.
Gotcha.
This
yes,
game,
I have only played the base game.
I will agree with you that the base game by itself is not outstanding. It's probably a 6. But the first 2 expansions were okay, but then after that, like the third expansion on, turned it into a lot of thematic stuff to it. It added a lot of story to it. It added a lot of tension. A lot of time. I mean, you got out of the museum a lot. Most of them are going around. Like one of them's you're out in the ocean. One of them you're in the Arctic. One of them you're in Egypt. There's all these different stuff. I have the really cool Broken Token like wooden museum that the lid, you open up the museum and it's all stored in there and everything. This
which is nice.
Yeah, it's this is a really cool game. I mean, it's all of your Arkham Horror and all that stuff games turned into a dice game, really. It's still a decent length game. I mean, doesn't turn into like a 30-minute game or anything, but unless you suck at dice rolling and die really quick. But and it's not an easy game at all either. The one complaint, and this is a complaint we brought up multiple times in multiple lists, is I want more dice. It's like it comes with that one set of dice. And they've never sold extra dice for this game. Like the only way you can get extra dice for this is to buy another core set.
Which is always bizarre to me because that's what Fantasy Flight does. They sell packs of
Blacklist does it, and then any place does it. It seems like anymore, and it's just odd. You know, you'd think you would add $10 to the cost of the game or $5 and just chuck a bunch of dice in there. But anyway, but yeah, this game, you know, it's cooperative. You're trying to defeat an old one. You're trying to match dice and collect clues. I mean, it plays out just like any Arkham game. You know, it's just like it has the same theme and the same stuff. It's just you're placing dice instead of, you know, everything. And I will say, like, you need to have all the expansions if you want the full experience, obviously. But the best ones are the later ones that add all the theme and everything to it a lot more.
That is the general consensus, is that all these expansions make the game worth it.
Yeah. And like I said, I mean, you don't want, and I know your opinion on expansions, not using expansions to fix stuff. And it's not that it really fixes it because you're playing the same game. It just adds theme to it.
True.
Because, you know, so, but
there is definitely a fine line with something like that. Like if the game isn't, it's, for me, if I don't like the base, I have zero incentive to want to give that game more money.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of where it comes down for this, or Seven Wonders Duel. It's just like, no, the expansion makes it better. And it's like, yeah, but I mean, sure. Yeah, I'm sure it does. But it's like, I already didn't like the base game, so I don't want to play. I personally don't want to shell out the money to get an expansion. Because then if I don't like the expansion, then now I just fucking wasted money. So normally when it comes down to Elder Sign or those 2 games, it's just like, okay, you have the expansion, so you bring it over, and then we'll play it. And then I can test it, and then see it's like, oh yeah, no, this did make it way better.
Well, and if you don't like the theme of this game, there's a new version of it coming out this year that's X-Men themed.
Oh, you're right. It is.
It was on Rado's list. I think
I saw that, and I was like, I don't even like this game, and I love this theme. Fuck the X-Men.
Yeah,
and that theme.
You need to try this with the thematic expansions, though. It'll. Yep. It may not make you love the game, but at least I think you'll have more fun with it.
Right. Yeah. So what I will do is I will put Seven Wonders Duel with expansion, because I'm still writing that list of games we need to play. And then I will put Elder Sign with expansion. And then we'll give those a shot.
Yep. Sounds good. But yeah, that's my 37 Elder Sign. It was actually my only Cthulhu or Lovecraft, I guess, game that I owned for a long time until I finally started getting into
Came to your
those more.
senses and realized that they're amazing. All right. My number 36. Yep, 36 was 32 last year, so it's only fallen just a little bit, and it was 28 in 2018. And I mean, this I couldn't really tell you why it's fallen. This is a game that after me praising it for so long, we finally got you to play it, and or on your list, it definitely wouldn't be this high. So you were surprising me, but I think if you were to play it a little bit more, it might sneak in there. And that is Overlords of Infamy by, I cannot remember the company name. Obscure Reference Games, I think is what it is.
Looks like it.
This one was, I mean, this one has a nostalgia factor to it for me because it was the first Kickstarter game that they actually sent me a copy of when my first starting out. And it's amazing. Like it still has held up. Like I was surprised with it in its prototype form, and then I got the finished copy, and I was like, oh, this is even better. Like it's solid. All the components are great. All those colorful cast of playable characters that you get to be that have a backstory that is just, wild and willy. This one, I mean, at its heart is a worker placement resource management game of you as a supervillain. The basically think of Megamind or Gru from Despicable Me, where you're just doing outlandish, over the top things. You're not going out and like poison gassing cities to just kill innocent lives. You're not slaughtering. It's all like, it starts out at like you start with like very simple levels of plots, and then they get more advanced, which of course require more resources. But like the earlier ones are like, rid the world of chocolate or make everyone's socks wet. And then so very like annoying things that you would be like, man, who is doing this? Everyone's socks are wet. This is just, I hate this because and he's just like and then it advances to like steal the moon or whatever you can imagine that is just in a Pixar Disney kind of villain world. It's extremely solid in its worker placement. All the actions you can do are tied to a theme in some way with destroying the land to gather those resources. You send out your lackeys, which are workers. And as you exploit the land, that's what it is. And as you lay these tiles out, there's actually borders that are that once basically two neighboring areas touch those borders, now they can actually start doing acts of espionage together, depending on your nefarious level. And even then, they're just more of like, I'm gonna, you put one of your workers over to get a resource. It's just removing him, or if someone has the resources to try and finish the plot, you can sabotage that plot. And when they go to complete it, they have to roll a die, and they'll still spend all the resources, but it doesn't work. It's never game breaking. It's never like truly cutthroat. It's more of just like, well, that was kind of annoying. I hate you now. And I mean, they have a NPC, which is the hero from the Kingdom of Good. He moves around the board and he can kill lackeys, or he can remove resources. If he goes into someone's actual lair, then he removes all their resources. So the players are like pitting him against one another. Like whenever they roll, they like move him into their territory to get him away from their own. It's extremely solid. Like I think that this game is legitimately funny with the world events and the different characters. And yes, you are seeing a corgi down at the bottom, who is my favorite character out of all of these. So he is just so adorable because corgis, I mean, who doesn't like corgis? And then on top of all that, they're adding an expansion that includes new overlords, and then a 6-player, and just, I mean, this game also includes a solo mode, which I still haven't tried. It's on my list of solo modes to actually get.
That was a question I was just getting ready to ask you when you got done talking, was how the solo. I noticed it played 1 to 5, and I was like, oh, that sounds interesting.
Right. It does actually have a solo variant, but I have not personally tried it. But eventually I'm gonna get all the games that I own, their solo variants played. Yeah, for example, the expansion is adding a cat called Pancakes, so that's adorable. So yeah, it's fantastic. If you want a great worker placement, resource management game that is genuinely funny, you check out Overlords of Infamy.
Cool. It was a good one. Like, I didn't really consider it a whole lot on this. I had only played it that one time with you guys, so it was fun. I had fun playing it. I just needed to play it more. So
yeah, which makes sense.
I can't remember which character I was. I was some big guy in armor, like this huge armor dude.
Oh yeah, I do not remember his name, but he was the guy who's basically stuck in the armor.
Yeah, he was permanently in it. Yeah. All right. So my 36, I don't know if you've played it or not. I can't remember. It was not on my list 2 years ago. It was 37 last year, so it actually gained 1 spot.
Whoa.
Yeah, and that is Space Base.
Nice.
Did you play this?
Yeah, we played it together.
Okay, I couldn't remember because I showed so many people it there at one point.
Right.
This one is, I can't say it's my favorite version of this type of game. Think Machikoro and those kind of games where you roll dice, gain resources, blah blah blah. Right. Well, this one is you have your space station and you are going to be rolling dice, and then you get to buy these cards, and the cards are like these really, I don't even know, they're like almost like pack of gum, like weird rectangle.
Yeah, they're like that. Cards. They're like
yeah,
narrow.
And you take those cards and you buy them because they're all laid out in the deal. You buy one of them, and then you put it on the bottom of your deal, and there's the bottom part of it, and it gives you whatever whenever you roll the dice and that number pops up, you get that resource, blah blah blah. Well, then there's a time when you can take those cards that are at the bottom, because you can only have 1 card per deal unless you flip them upside down and put them up on the top of your base, and that's supposed to declare them leaving the base, and then they give you something. So you are able to get a lot of resources. Like, there's resources flying all over the place in this game. There's one ship in the deck of ships that some people pull out and don't even use, and it's the one that if you fire that card off, you win the game.
You just win.
Yeah, but it's difficult to do though, because you're taking these energy cubes also that are in there, and there's these things like if you roll, say you get a 5 or whatever, then you can add a cube to that deal, and once it's powered up, then it fires off, and that's what that kind of card is.
Right.
I only have the base game for this. There's been 2 expansions.
Oh, I thought you had everything for it.
Well, I was going to. There's one expansion. It's just expensive.
Gotcha.
Just one small box expansion is like $30, and but then there's the command station box is what I want to get, and it's a big storage solution, and it adds fancy dice for each faction and stuff. So I'll eventually get it, but it's just one of those games. It's rolling dice, gaining resources. You gain stuff on other people's turns, because the stuff that happens at the top of your board you get when other people are rolling dice. The stuff at the bottom part of the board is when you roll the dice. So I kind of like that, how you're going through and everything. It's kind of neat. I do have one other game higher up on my list that uses that Machikoro mechanic that I like better than this one. So
yeah, I think that the one that if I'm thinking of the same game, that's one that I actually want to get a copy of.
Yeah. So anyway, Space Base, it's a really fun game. I mean, like I said, there's that one card that kind of puts a sour taste in people's mouths, and you can just take that card out. There's so many cards in this game, you don't even have to use that card.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a very fun one. I enjoyed it, and I don't like much Oro.
Yeah, I don't either. That it was
I
too
want to
simple.
try the Legacy though. I don't know
Yeah.
why.
This one had more choices. Like Manticore, there wasn't hardly any choices. You know, it was a race to
Right.
get those one
Purple
building. So
buildings.
this one, there's more choices. There's a lot more different variation of cards. The other game I'm going to talk about later is really cool and has a lot more cards. But anyway, Space Base 36. It's a good one.
Awesome. My number 35 is actually, I think, the first one. No, Overlords fell a little bit. This one is obviously a fantastic game. It's 35 out of 100, and last year it was 18, so it has fallen quite a bit. In 2018 it was 59, so from 2 years it rose. Probably because I was actually playing it a lot more than I am now, and that is Terraforming Mars.
This is my 35 too, by the
No
way.
way.
Yeah, it is. 65, 35.
That's so funny. That's so funny. I
And
was
well,
sitting there, I'm like, I wonder if we're.
you
What?
said yours was 18 last year, right?
Yeah.
So mine was 19 last year. So we
Oh,
were
okay.
close on that too. So that's funny.
What was it? What was it 2 years ago?
Unrated. It wasn't on my list 2 years
Oh,
ago.
gotcha. All right. Well, we can talk about this one together. That
Yep.
is going to most likely be the only time this happens. I can't. That's so wild. I mean, it's weird because this one also came out with an expansion. I believe this past year. The oh shit hole. It
Turmoil. Was it
is
Turmoil?
Turmoil. That's what it was.
Yeah.
That added basically politics into the game. Um, it was okay. I didn't really care for that one as much. The colonies and the prelude expansion, I think, are the best ones for it.
Very much
But
so.
yeah, it's. I mean, this one's taken the. I mean, the hobby by storm. Everyone, is raving about this. These are some people's like favorite games of all time. People have their whole game room decked out in Terraforming Mars themes, which is a little over the top for me, but to each their own.
Yeah, and the thing with this is it's so high rated. I don't even know what BGG. It's a top 10 game, I think, or close to that.
Real quick.
But this game is like the components and card quality and card art and stuff is shit. Like,
yeah.
And for this game to still be one of the most popular, I mean, just imagine, which they are coming out with that Kickstarter that has the big box and the fancy tiles and stuff. But card art's still gonna be the same, and it's just like, but it's such a good game. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, the card art doesn't bother me so much.
No, it doesn't me either. But it's just like everything is just odd. It's
like thin cardboard, cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get the it's not like the resources are metal. They're like that plastic with the metal coating.
Yeah, fake metal.
On it. It's just I mean, this is ranked number 4 overall.
Yeah, I figured it was. I knew it was up there.
But yeah, this is a fantastic game where so many different avenues of ways for you to gain points. Because at the end of the day, you are trying to have the most points at the end of the game. And there's just a stack of cards that you're drawing from, they're essentially projects for you to fund for your strategy. You're creating a tableau of different science fields and like a lot of ways to have upkeep, but most of these cards have a condition on them, whether Mars needs to have a certain water level or a certain oxygen level or a certain heat level for you to play them. And so you're trying to accrue money, which then lets you pay for these cards, and then you're trying to accrue resources, which lets you use the cards or to be able to place like tiles out on Terraform on Mars, because Mars itself has like special icons of you to help you draw cards or helps you gain resources or things like that. I mean, it's one of those things that whenever the game came out, you almost immediately needed like upgradable parts, because like the overlays for your tiles or for your playmats, because otherwise they were just going to get all over the place. But with the Prelude expansion, it actually came, not Prelude, with the Turmoil expansion, actually came with the dual layer boards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those would have been nice because I have the Broken Token wooden insert that has the wooden deal. I mean, they're nice. They're functional, but the wood is a little odd. Like having those dual layer would have been better, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the variety of this game, the different ways to actually play is just off the charts. A lot of people think that this game is complex, which I don't think it is. I don't think it's that complex.
It's no more complex than any other engine builders. I mean, that's really all you're doing.
I mean, you are essentially building an engine for ways to generate points through different means of terraforming Mars. The game ends once the tracks hit what they're supposed to, where you, like humanity, can live and sustain and survive on the planet. Mm-hmm. My favorite thing about the game is that it's grounded in science. A lot of things that you are doing are essential speculations of what it would be like to actually do this this project, but like the flavor text on the cards is like scientific. The rule book has scientific stuff in it. Even the box art has that top quote by the president of the Mars Society. This is probably Stronghold's best game that they've made. I can't think of.
I haven't played Great Western Trail yet. A lot of people like it really well too, but
that's what did Stronghold take that one?
Yeah, Stronghold ended up bringing it over. So
gotcha. Okay, so to a lot of people, this one is going to be well, now Eggertspiel has the title for Great Western Trail. But yeah, I mean, Stronghold has its name on it. But however, yeah, I mean, I cannot praise this game enough with the all the expansions. I mean, even if you played a ton, like there's still avenues of victory that you're like, oh, I didn't even see this combination. Right. And if you really have seen everything, then you can try all the expansion with colonies that allows you to actually have different areas that you can colonize. And then Venus is just a different map that adds a different resource. I think it's like gas or clouds or something. It's a different type of, at least it's a new icon. And then Prelude is definitely a must expansion. It starts off the game everyone is unique, everyone has their own corporation and kind of not really special ability, but more like everyone's kickstarted in a different direction.
Right.
And then what's the other one? And then the turmoil added politics, which it wasn't bad, but I would say that you should probably just play that one by itself, combine it with anything else. So yeah, I mean, it's also year 35, so you can also.
I mean, there isn't much more to say. I haven't played Turmoil. I have everything else for it. But yeah, I don't know. I like engine building, and this one has so much to it, and you have so many damn cards and stuff that you get put out, and it's just, like I said, it has to be a good game to be this high on a list and still have the component quality stuff, where you had to buy stuff immediately to fix certain things of it. But this one definitely was the best Mars game that came out during that year when all those Mars games were coming out.
That is, I mean, that was a theme that was kind of just, hey, Mars. And now if a Terraforming Mars game comes out and you're like, why? What's the point?
Yeah, and there's a dice version of this coming out this year.
Yep, this year. So that will be interesting to see how that works.
Yeah.
I probably will try it. I don't prefer dice versions of games.
Yeah. But anyway, I mean, like I said, you said it. I mean, this is a great game, and I don't know really why it fell necessarily. I don't know if it's just because
it's hard to get to the table.
Yeah. It's a table hog if you play with several people. I do like the solo mode of this. It's another one of those beat your point things, but
Right.
it's still
Right.
it can be played solo, and it doesn't really change the game a whole lot. So,
Exactly. That's how I ended up doing the run through.
yeah.
Like you play the game, like nothing changes. You play it, and then it's just like I think you have a certain number of generations to get to like 85 points or something.
So yeah, it's something like that.
I think that's how you win officially, but which I don't think I did. I don't think I won. But yeah, it is kind of a just beat your own high score, which is fine. Like this game is like a blast, no matter how you're playing it. So yeah, great. That is R35,
Yes.
Terraforming Mars. All right, my number 34, which would be wild if it was also your 34.
Maybe.
Mine is new to the list, and one was a game that you kept like harping me on to officially play, and I'm like, you know what? Fine, I'll finally get it to the table. Kat and I played it, and we loved it. And then whenever you came over, we did it for the channel, and it's still fantastic. The solo mode is okay, and that is Vindication.
Yes.
Is this also your 34?
No.
Okay. All right. Vindication, thank you for forcing me to play it, because I don't know if it would still be sitting on my shelf.
I was going to say, you only owned it for, what, a year before you played it?
Yeah. Just wait till you talk about Coliseum, and then we'll see. Yeah, Vindication is a fantastic game. Like, great component quality, and an awesome theme of you being a piece of shit that got thrown overboard, and then you watch on this mysterious shore, or this shore of a mysterious island, and you're basically, the theme is you are like rescued by one of the inhabitants of this island. That's like your own starting companion. And then you are just going around the map, exploring the map, trying to essentially vindicate yourself. You have two different tracks of gems that you're trying to move over, and then you can flip your piece over to show that you are actually vindicated. And you use these as like actions, or you can use the gems as actions that allow you to kind of do a little bit better whenever you're doing particular things throughout the game. Right. There has a slight area control element to it whenever you're playing competitively, which will get you points at the end of the game. It also net you some points if people use a spot that you own. There's a bunch of ways for you to get points, from killing monsters, from gaining relics, from getting a majority of certain colors, which then allow you to take the I can't remember what it's called, but it's essentially a tile that's for victory points at the end of the game. And then on top of that, you have the different ways of end game scoring that you can go for. Or no, not end game scoring. There is end game scoring, but it's game end triggers, yes, which I think is a really cool element to this game. How you're going to shuffle. Yeah, because you're going to shuffle it, and depending on number of players, a certain number of these need to be completed for the game to end. And there's a bunch of different ways for the game to end with that deck. Right. With expansions, it adds pets, so you can actually get, you throw in they're all mini expansions. It's really just, hey, like, take this tile and throw it into the bag now, and that's what it is. Like, it's just something that can show up. It's just really, really cool. I like the different, it's a Euro game that actually holds a lot of theme to it. Yes. Like, with the different attributes of you putting basically your colored cubes in these sections, and then combining two of them to make another different attribute, which are really where a lot of the points are going to be coming from. You have the three main ones, and then the combinations of those three main ones to get relics or monsters or fighting monsters or things like that. So I think this game has a lot of legs to it. In the run through and discussion we did, I mentioned, what they're missing is like a campaign. Well, then they announced like a campaign or like a story element to the game, and that's now coming too. So I was entranced by how good this game is, and I enjoy that all player counts. Solo is okay. I feel like you're missing a little bit when you're playing it, but it's not bad. So that's my number 34.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a good one for sure. My 34 was, already talked about by you.
Ooh,
Not this top 10. It's been a little while back.
gotcha.
It was not on my list 2 years ago. It was 67 last year. I have played it a few times this year, and I've really enjoyed my playthroughs, and that is A Feast for Odin.
Nice.
This is, I don't know, I hope this isn't a lie, but this is my favorite Uwe Rosenberg game. The Caverna is a good one. I really enjoyed that. This one, so many options to it.
I know.
And then it brings, and there's a lot, I mean, and you know, in a lot of these games when they have a lot of options like this, you know, you talked about it with Orleans, how you think that there's this one possible track that seems to be the more powerful, you know, like this one.
Right.
This one, I don't find it. Like there's so many different ways you can go through, you know, it's and then they throw the polyomino stuff in there when your island is just a bunch of negative points and you're trying to cover up all the negatives to do that and everything. It's just, I haven't played the expansion. But yeah, this game's just kind of nuts with all the choices that you can do and everything. You're always going to be able to get something. You know, even if you get hosed on that one spot, which we, you know, 70 spots or whatever, and right. if one of the two people you're playing with take it, the chances of them taking that isn't super great with all those different spots, you know.
Exactly.
It's a beast of a game, takes up a lot of table space and everything, but it's definitely by far, in my opinion, one of the best. Now, keep in mind, I have not played Le Havre. I need to play Le Havre sometime. Ever, you know, people say that's the best Uwe Rosenberg game ever, especially Tom Vassell. But right. I need to try it, but it's out of stock everywhere. So, but as of for right now, the ones I've played, A Feast for Odin is the best one out of that from that designer.
Yeah, it's a fantastic one, and I think it's one of those games that has a stigma to it because everyone's like, oh, like, you know, whatever it is, 50 different worker placement spots, and it's like, yeah, but the game itself is actually manageable.
Yeah,
it's like you have your own board, and then it just has that track of like all the different actions. Like it's not an extremely busy looking game with a lot of stuff to it. It's a confined, I guess it's like a confined mess, you know.
Yeah.
That, I mean, I don't think it's really that difficult.
It's not. It's just overwhelming to see it all on the table.
Yeah.
But that's what any of those games. Cavern is the same way. I mean, that's the kind of games he makes.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, this is a really good one. It was 70 something for me.
I knew it was. We had talked about it a while back, but
73 is what it was. So, and more playthroughs would easily bring it up, probably without a doubt. All right. My number 33 went up since last year. It was 48 last year, and it was I don't think it was on my list in 2018. And whenever you mentioned this game, actually just like 5 seconds ago, you were like, "Oh, it's the highest Stronghold game, or it's the best strong." And I was like, "Oh, wait a minute, crap, is this Stronghold?" But it is not. At least I don't think my copy is. Nope. My copy is Stronghold. So I don't know what's going on. But yeah, you can go ahead and show it. Great Western Trail. Haha, Eggertspiel down at the bottom.
And Stronghold just ported this over to the US.
Gotcha.
So it was released over in Europe and brought over.
Gotcha. Well, so this is my favorite Alexander Pfister game. Maracaibo was 44, and then Blackout Hong Kong was earlier, like way it was in 94. So this one is just immaculate in design, in avenues for scoring. The expansion was it Railways to the North or something like that, is extremely solid, gives you more more decisions whenever you are moving your train like up the track. I very much enjoy this. This is a game where the players end up dictating kind of how fast it goes, kind of like Maracaibo. And you're a cow herder. You are trying to have different sets of cows. Whenever you trek from Texas all the way to Kansas City, and the number of different types of cows you have dictate, the strength of how far your train can go. And you have a progression of that train system of how it's moving, and you kind of hopscotch over other people. And then, like, once you get to the higher ones, it's where you're getting a lot of your points. But if you keep showing up with the same, low value cards or cows, then you're like, well, I guess I can't. You can't ship them off. So then you have to go to Kansas City, and then that ends up getting you negative points each time one of your tokens is getting placed on there. So the game is incredibly brutal to players who do not get better each go round. There's different types of workers that you can hire. The more of those workers you have, the better off that you're going to be, whether by placing your own personal locations, like your own personal buildings on the map, or getting conductors to be able to place on the railroad track to get in-game victory points. And then it's just and then the cowboys to get you different types, the higher valued cows. I mean, it's kind of a deck builder, very minimal one, but it's a deck builder set collection. It's not worker placement, at least I wouldn't call it worker placement. But I really, really like this game. Rails to the North is the expansion.
Yeah.
The mechanisms they have are hand management, deck building, point-to-point movement. It has rondel. I don't know where the rondel's at. But yeah, it's just, I mean, I remember the first time playing this game, like this one's probably his most difficult to learn, I think, because if you're not paying attention, or you're not getting those different sets of cows, then you're going to have like a ton of negative points at the end of the game. And then it's like, so by the end of whenever you do your final scoring, it's just like, I remember the very first time I played this game, I had like, I don't remember what I had, but it was like, let's say I just had 50, and my friend I was playing it with, he had like 4. And I was like, whenever I finished tallying it up, I was like, so what do you think of the game? Because it was just that massive of a point difference. But whenever we did it for the channel, I was like, look, each time you hit Kansas City, you have to be doing better. Like, if you are not doing better, you're going to have a bad time. But the expansion gives you a little bit more leeway to kind of paths that you can go on, because you have buildings you can place in certain cities. It's so good. I really like this game. So that's my number 33, Great Western Trail.
All right. My number 33, I'm surprised, is 33. It was 21 2 years ago. It was 14 last year. And the only reason I could say that it dropped to 33 is because I haven't played the last couple of Kickstarter expansions that have come out. And that is Aeon's End.
That's because this game sucks.
No, I haven't played any of the expansions yet that have the expedition, like the
New Age and Outcasts.
Right. I haven't played anything since New Age. Like, I haven't played anything since Legacy yet.
Oh, okay. Well, New Age came out after Legacy.
Well, whatever the one the second one.
War Eternal.
War Eternal. I've played this and War Eternal. I haven't played Legacy in past.
You're missing out.
I know.
You're not missing out on Legacy. That shit sucked.
But anyway, so that I can only imagine that's the only reason it's fallen, I guess, is just because I haven't messed with that stuff. But this is a deck building game, cooperative deck building. There's going to be a big nemesis that's trying to take out what's the name of the town?
Gravehold.
Yeah, that's it. And but you are you pick a wizard, summoner, whatever you want to call them.
Breach mage.
Yes, that's it. And,
come on.
See, I told you I haven't played anything since the second one. But what's cool about this is you buy stuff from the market, whether it's spells or like jewel stones, shards, whatever they call them.
Gems.
Gems. There you go. So you know all the terms for this.
I do.
But anyway, so you're buying all that stuff, and they go into your deck. You are attacking. Each nemesis is so different in the way they come out and do different stuff. But when the unique part of this game, when you don't shuffle your deck, you need to make sure as you're playing the cards you're playing them, that's going to be the order, because once you run out of cards, you just flip your discard over. So you kind of have an idea, if you have halfway of a brain, you're going to know kind of what is coming. And also when you're doing the spells, there's this whole timing thing where you have your breaches that you set up, and then these spells won't fire off until you've the time has passed, or you've, I guess, wielded the spell enough for it to work and everything. It's teamwork is a must in this game. The turn order part is the other part that I really enjoy, because let's say you're playing a 2-player game, you're going to have there's a little miniature deck you make that has a couple of player 1 cards, a couple of player 2 cards, and there's going to be, I think, and they're just 2 for the nemesis as well, I think. And you shuffle that up, and then you flip the card, and then that tells you whose turn it is. So you may get boned, and you may get 2 nemesis plays in a row. You may get, however it goes. And these games come down to those card flips more times than not. Like or you get wrecked. Like if you die really quick, or it comes down to the end. Like I don't think I've ever had a game where I've just totally roasted a guy. It's either close or you get your ass handed to you, one way or the other.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever had a game where we also lost super early either.
Yeah, I've gotten,
because the layout of the deck of the nameless deck is level 1s, 2s, and 3s, and level 1s aren't as punishing, so you're always able to kind of hang in there for a little bit.
Right. So, I mean, this is just it's super innovative as far as a deck builder, with all the cool stuff. It adds so much theme to it, and they just keep coming out with crap. I mean, like, it's just, I don't know how they come up with the ideas for all these stacks and stacks of cards they just keep coming out with, but they do. And I don't think they're done either, because they have not mentioned anything about it. And I think they're planning, I don't know if there's not any Kickstarters announced for this year, but that doesn't mean that something will pop up,
Yeah.
So yeah, and I don't think you said it yet, so I'm sure it's higher up on your list. But yeah, Aeon Zen's my 33. It's a superb deck builder.
Awesome. Yep, I wholeheartedly agree. I definitely think you need to get or play the last 2, because the story element of those are really good. I felt the legacy part was extremely weak. It only kickstarted the story, which is why I would say play legacy. But the other 2 expansions, just they did it right. This is like, it's 4 mini, like you have decks that kind of like almost like a Legends of Andor thing, where that's how you get the story, and then it's like, oh, okay, we'll stop with this deck, and then play fight this boss, and it's just way more manageable. Because I don't ever want to use the character that I made, and that's a shame. Where it's like, oh man, I get to make my own Breach Mage. Yeah, I don't want to use him. He fucking sucks. All right, my number 32 went up this year. It was 34 last year and 61 in 2018. Expansions have made this game phenomenal, even more so than it already was. And I just absolutely love how this game works, and that is Everdell.
Yep.
Everdell is a beautiful game, one with its artwork and its presentation. I think it's just a very peaceful, like glorifying game of this the anthropomorphic animals and their society. And you are basically, I mean, it's a card game. You are playing and drafting specific cards that allow you to build your own tableau that's gonna generate you the most points after all is said and done. I love this card play. The fact that cards play off one another. It's also a worker placement game where you place your workers at certain locations that get you resources, and those resources you use to build different types of buildings or get certain types of characters into your tableau. The other fantastic thing is it does that kind of seven wonders idea where if you have a particular card that can make another card free to actually play, which is just awesome. Like you can have a farm and the farm will let you get the wife and the wife will let you get the husband cards for free. And you just have this very wholesome game and city that you have built by the end of it. And I absolutely love that. Going for the different types of objectives are a lot of fun as well. You're going like some of them you're going to want certain types of cards in your tableau before you can actually claim it, and that will get you victory points. There's also monuments that statues or basically like wonders in this world that you can claim after you have a certain number of a certain type of card, which will be in-game victory points. And it's extremely solid. Like the expansions, the Pearlbrook add a new worker that you can that can only be sent over in like the lake or the shores of the lake, and there's that utilizes pearls, and pearls are worth victory points, but they can also be used at these locations. And there's also different types of buildings that will let you get pearls. Then there's also the other two expansions, Spirecrest and I think it's Belfair.
Yeah, I think it's
Belfair. Belfair just adds, I mean, it's kind of a modular expansion, which adds like it's a festival that's happening in Everdell. So it gives people individual player powers. It one adds more people. It adds event cards and a new market location that you can go to. So it's more of a modular thing that, like, what's really cool is all of the expansion boards add on to the main board. So it becomes this whole actual kind of world or village or city that you're in. So the Belfair one is really good because it's modular and adds kind of like a very lighthearted tone to the game. And then the Spirecrest one, which is my favorite, is it actually adds adventure. Let me see if I can remember the theme, like why you're adventuring. Nope, it's just basically you are adventuring, and it's so good. Like you actually have an explorer. So kind of like at the bottom of the Everdell main board was kind of like a journey track, which once you pretty much did it, you can only do it in fall. And as you basically, if you're the first one to claim it, you're going to get the most points. However, in Spirecrest, that is now a journey track that you can go on, and that journey will allow you to get a bunch of different will get you like discovery cards that will give you like new locations that can be built or new creatures. There's also wooden pieces of particular animals that you can actually have as your own, and they come with little saddles that you put on. You take one of your workers and you put him on the saddle so he's riding it, and it's so cute. It adds like weather to it, so you have to deal with the weather as you're going on the journey. All the expansions are great. I mean they're all fantastic, and they just enhance Everdell as an already amazing game. So yeah, I love this game. It's so good, and that's my number 32, Everdell.
Yeah, I really like this. I've only played this with Pearlbrook. I haven't got the other two expansions yet, but yeah, it's a wonderful game.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yes. All right, my number 32 is a filler game. It was 39 2 years ago. It was 82 last year, and then it's down to 32. So it's jumped way down, way up. Mainly because I had a whole bunch of playing of this.
Gotcha.
That is Eggs and Empires. This one, when you play with large numbers of people, is like when you play with at least 5 is when this is just crazy fun.
Yeah.
And pretty much everybody has the exact same deck, 1 to 10, All the cards are the same. You shuffle up your deck. You draw 3 cards. You're going to choose one to play. You're going to put it face down. Everybody reveals, and then they fire from highest number to lowest number, unless, of course, there's some cards that fire before other numbers and stuff. But what you're competing for is there's also a deck of dragon eggs. Some are positive. Most of them are positive, but then there's also some negatives. And those are, you'll depend on the number of players, you'll have a row out in the middle of positive and negative eggs. So the person that gets to pick first gets the first egg, and they put it face down in their score pile. You may have to be forced to take negative exploding eggs, which will be negative points in your pile. After you've went through, after everybody's went through their entire deck, the rounds are super fast. Once you go through your deck of 10 cards, that's the end of the round. You score it out, and then you reset back up again, and you just play, you just keep going. And it's just, the theme means nothing. It's just one of those games that you just bring. It's a small box game. It's kind of like, how I had Love Letter on my list a section or two ago. This one fits more like when you're playing with the guys, gaming and stuff. And there's those times when, because there's this one card, the dark priestess or whatever, that if anybody else plays, she's a 9. So she's going to win the high number more times than not. But if anybody else plays that another number 9, and they cancel each other out, you don't expect anything. So it's just like, there's just all kinds. It's just chaotic, crazy fun. This is one of those games you just have to go into lightheartedly and just have a blast with. And there's a couple, like a little expansion that adds set collection type of eggs in there. That's fine, but just the base game itself is just a blast to play. So I mean, that's Eggs and Empires. It's it's a Griffin game. It was made before Eagle and Griffin combined.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it's like this. We played it with 3 players, I think, right? When me and Kat played it, it's one of those that you need it for it to be remotely decent. You need at least 4, but
Gotcha.
4, 5, and 6 are the best. The higher you get, the better, just because of the chaotic fun and stuff. So
I did not like this at 3.
yeah, and 3. That I just wanted you guys to see what the game was like. It's not ideal at 3 at all, but it was just one of those things just to give it a shot and see, so you can see the mechanics. The guys that came up with this have come up with. They've made other games too. I can't think right off the top of my head, but Pinchback and Riddle, they've done some good stuff as well. This is just one of those simple filler games, that's it's a good more times than not, especially playing it with the high counts. Like anybody I've played this with, everybody else just went out and like bought a copy. Like all the guys in Joplin have a copy of it now because after we played it at 5 that one time. It's just a cheap game. It's like $10, and it's a good time.
Well, they also named their expansion the Eggspansion.
Well, and it's just a tiny.
So I hate it.
It's like 10 cards. I mean, that's all it is. It's not even a boxed expansion.
It's awful. That's stupid. I hate puns. All right, and the last one for this segment, ending on a high note, is new to the list, and this was one you actually had mentioned, I think, a few segments ago. So, I mean, I like it more than you, but that's also because I own it, and that's you can go ahead. And that is Project Elite.
Because you own it too.
I do own it. Do you own it? No, you don't own it.
No, I want to own it, but I've only played yours.
Gotcha. Yeah. So Project Elite is, God, it's such a fun real-time game that is just endless hordes of enemies coming at your base, and you just feel like a badass whenever the board gets set up and you just have all these monsters, and then you go out and you just run out there and just start running and gunning. And this is one of those games where, I mean, like, there's really like almost no strategy. I mean, there is, because like you roll your dice and you do that segment, and it's all real time as the monsters are moving, and then you're looking and you're only really focusing on what you're doing, like you would in a chaotic scenario like this. And then once the timer's done, then you're like, all right, now let's everyone like regroup and okay, what has happened? What do we do? And then like we'll look over and see that like Brad killed like his whole side of the board, and then Kat and I like took down 3 bosses, and then we're like, all right, awesome. So now we're ready. And then you have an event that comes out that fucks over the players, and then like you set up the board again, and you're just like, oh god. So you go through waves of the real-time experience. It's not real-time the entire game. You have, I think, about a minute or maybe 2 minutes of actually.
I think it's 2 minutes.
Yeah, but there's like you cannot communicate with what other people are doing. Like you just have to roll because it's chaos, and you're just like trying to assign your dice to where they need to go. You can collect alien items, you can weapons, bombs. It's just insane. And with the Kickstarter stuff, it adds like a bunch of different characters you can play with special abilities. You can get like the expansion that has like the guys in the mech suits.
Mm-hmm.
You can add a variant where you actually have ammo that you have to deal with, which would be wild. But I know we talked about it whenever you mentioned it, but the game comes with a bunch of bosses, which have special abilities and things by themselves, but not a bunch of the grunts, which is fine. Like, I mean, just more grunts would make it a little bit more variable. However, I think in the chaos of moving, like, you would probably forget everything that they can do anyway.
Right.
Bosses are kind of, I think they're enough. So, and then there's different maps that you can play on. This one it's so much fun. If I take a look, this might be, no, it is definitely one of my favorite real-time games for sure. I think it's like my second favorite. And that's just the craziness of everything that is going on, but still it's manageable. It gets people who don't really like real-time games to like real-time games because it's like, okay, you can handle 2 minutes of real time, and then the rest of it is just everything's fine. You go through the different phases, and it's like, all right, boom, now we're ready to go again. You can strategize once everything. You can, okay, well, here's what we're going to do. I can see there's a bunch of enemies on the left side. I'm going to go try and deal with that. There's a boss, and you can, instead of the whole game where no one can communicate, because otherwise this game would suck. So, but it's not. It is extremely balanced and fun real-time game. So that's my number 31, Project Elite.
Good choice. Well, this has been an interesting list because, we both had the same 35, which is nuts.
Yeah.
But we're going to end this segment the way we began the segment.
I'm so lost. Oh, wait, how did I begin?
Okay. 2 years ago, it was not on my list. It was 28 last year. It's 31 this year, and that is Sorcerer.
Nice.
There's not really a whole lot to say about it other than, it stayed virtually the same as it was last year. The Endbringer expansion, I mean, it can't miss. I mean, it's turning this game into my wheelhouse of cooperative solo. So it's gonna have to go up.
Right.
Just, I don't know. I mean, from the first time I played this game, the very first time I played this game was a 4-player game, mind you, because it was a complete train wreck because the 4-player game is just stupid. But that was when I was learning the game before I had to go start teaching this game to people. So then the 1v1 stuff is just so good. The base box, all the decks in the base box are easier to play than like any of those expansion packs. So those are where they really ramp up the complexity. But yeah, the art in this game is crazy. As far as so dark and everything, it's just, I don't know. It's it has all the cool stuff that you'd want. Like I think about all the 1v1 games that I've played. This isn't my highest rated one, but it's right up there. And then when you throw that expansion that's coming in with the few new decks, and just adding the whatever it is, 4 or 6 new decks for the sorcerers just adds all that, because then those can combine into all the other decks that are there, and everything. It's going to be a blast. But yeah, I mean, this one's at least going to stay this high. I don't see it falling any lower than this. And then with that expansion, once it hits, it's going to definitely go up, I think. So yeah, that's my number 31, Sorcerer.
Awesome. Yeah, you're right. That was an interesting list. Same number for a game, and then starting and ending on the same game. So that was this segment, everyone. I hope you enjoyed. Stick around for the rest. We have 3 more segments to go. The next one is, of course, 30 through 21. Let us know what you think of these games in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.
Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.